Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Seems to me as if Shekinah may be just telling us that her relationship with Sarper is officially over. But let's find out. She starts off with this story here where she says, tonight's episode is just more... Oh, my apologies, folks. Didn't pause that one. Tonight's episode is just more of the unveiling of very hurtful words spoken when I wasn't present and a reminder that the utter aloneness I was in. He chose them, not me. Which is quite interesting because in my video literally today, I did ask the question, was Sarper trying to choose himself because was Sarper choosing the group or choosing Shekinah? In fact, I said, is he choosing himself in terms of wanting to be liked by them rather than actually being there for his actual wife? And Shekinah was obviously now come out to tell us that she definitely believes that he was choosing them just so he can get them to like him rather than being there to actually understand his wife, and therefore she wouldn't feel so afraid and alone. But we continue. I was there for us. He was there for the paycheck and exposure. And to be fair, I do believe that because anytime somebody did try to speak to Sarper in a way that wasn't nice, she would say, don't speak to my man like that. Meanwhile, Sarper, was he really doing that for Shekinah? For the most part, no. She continued by saying he wanted to be liked by strangers more than he cared to be there for his wife. Literally the words that I said earlier. Can you imagine? This is crazy. Then also continues here with this post where it says, as a woman, sometimes you have to be honest with yourself and say, I am not loved here. I am not appreciated here. I am not valued here. Then walk away and stay away. And I am not understood here, protected or chosen. Now, like I said before in the video that I made earlier today regarding the last resort, I did say that please do your best to view this as not just the fact that you dislike Shekinah so much, but just view it as if you was in the same situation and how you would feel if your man or your woman wasn't making you feel protected, wasn't making you feel heard, and your partner was more worried about keeping face with everybody else rather than actually making sure that you're actually doing the objective that you was there for, and that is to obviously fix your marriage. Meanwhile, like I said before, with Sarper, I wasn't getting that vibe. But we continue to the next one where she says, never once did anyone there validate my feelings. I kept saying I didn't mean what I said in the way everyone was interpreted. That wasn't accepted, so I paid for it by being mistreated over and over and over. I wasn't saying sorry because that's truly how I felt. If you're going to assault citizens of a country you're trying to live in, leave. I mean, the fact that she's still bringing it up is kind of a wild statement, to be honest with you. I mean, listen. Let's just... I can understand the point of view that she's coming at, but also at the same time, we also have to understand that the choice of words definitely aren't the ones that anyone should use. If anything, a better choice of... And to be fair, the events that happened between Shekinah and Thais actually happened in England. They didn't happen in America. Okay, so to be fair, you're actually saying it's even in a place that you don't even live in, to be honest with you. So there is also that part. But if anything, a better wording that Shekinah could have gone for would have been like, can you please stay away from me while I'm here because I don't do violence. Or can you go back to your hotel? You know, can you leave me alone? There were so many other words that she could have used. But I understand that in this world, there are some people that when it comes to saying certain things, they say things that's the first thing that comes to their mind, which doesn't make it acceptable because telling someone to go back to their country is very different compared to telling someone to leave you alone. Very different to letting someone know that you're not about the violence. It's just very, very different from saying an alternative that wouldn't necessarily have the word country. It wasn't even it was just the word go back to your country. It could have been go back to your room, go back to the other side of the bar, go back to your seat. Could have been anything like that, but she chose country, which is something that she has to live and accept that it was not called for, and not continuously try and justify how she meant it, or justify that she told them many times that's not how she meant it, because either way, the choice of words was a calamity. If I was Shekinah, I would stop addressing it in a way as if you're trying to defend yourself, and I would address it more saying, listen, what I said was completely wrong. It was completely out of line. The words that I chose was not the best words, and therefore I apologize for what I said because I understand how it has now impacted many people and how it's made them feel. That's what she should be saying. And to be fair, when she found out that Jenny has been receiving the same type of statements or same-sided comments from Sumit's parents, she did then say, okay, now I see your point of view, I understand, but as you can can see the girl is still backpedaling. And this is why it's so hard for people to try and be on Shekinah's side, or to try and, say anything that can be somewhat positive, because even when she's saying something that is right, there's always something that she's saying that is nothing but a calamity. Simply moving mad. But we continue. My husband sided with them and continues to. He isn't my protector. He's a weak follower who just cares about the approval of the masses. He doesn't have the strength to stand alone or with his wife just because she's disliked. I never yelled at him, swore at him, belittled him, or disrespected him. I simply said a sentence that was taken wrong. I mean, listen, like I said before, when it comes to Shekinah, there's things that she says I can easily agree with, but then there's things that she says, it's like, this is why you can't be defended. But regarding what she says in the yellow, for the most part, yeah, there's a lot of truth behind what she's saying there. But let's move on to the next one itself in particular. So in this one here, she continues by saying, I'm the most ride or die partner. I'll defend you even when you're wrong. And I do believe, because she has done that. I want the same in return. I mean, everybody wants the same return in a relationship. Let's be honest, folks. Hearing I'm his punishment over and over takes a toll. How did I marry someone who doesn't see me as a prize, but rather saw me as a punishment? Why did he marry me if he saw me that way? It's all so confusing, and I have so much trauma from this entire experience. Every week I relive and realize more and more of what was going on, and it's so crushing. It's very unfortunate that obviously this is the situation that they have come to. And it's also very unfortunate that somebody's been put in a position where they feel like they were a punishment rather than anything else that is quite nice. And therefore you're questioning, so why did you decide to marry in the first place? Why did you decide to leave Turkey in the first place? Why did you decide to give up the idea of even having children? Because remember, before they obviously left Turkey, Sarper made a big deal about how he was leaving his family. He also made a big deal about how traditionally he is supposed to have children. So he definitely, made certain big deals before actually leaving America. Before leaving Turkey for America. So it makes you really wonder, if Shekinah was this punishment, then why would he leave all these things that he's stressed for somebody that he sees as a punishment? You could argue and say that maybe he saw as a punishment once you got to America, but I doubt that. If anything, Shekinah's always been the same person. So if she was a punishment, so there's no way she became a punishment once they got to America. This would have been a thing before that anyway. So for me personally, this is where I'm going to go down the stereotypical route and say that maybe this whole time, Sarper's been playing every single one of us, and all he really cared about was getting to America. Because let's be real, he's got to America, and the second that he got his work visa, he's obviously been a stand-up comedian, and ever since he's been a stand-up comedian, he's been moving around from city to city or wherever the hell he goes to. Well, that's when their relationship has really hit the hard times even more. And it is quite ironic that their relationship has now hit the hard times more than before, once he actually started getting a career, obviously in the stand-up, as well as also I don't know if he's still doing the fitness groups, but he was also doing the fitness groups as well. And let's be real, someone like Sarper, he loves women so much that if he's obviously doing comedy clubs and doing all these clubs where he's getting women's attention, they're coming up to him after his performances, or come after his classes, they're being all nice and friendly, and especially for a man that has no standards, because he did admit that when he was out there chasing 2,500 women, apparently, that he slept with, he did say that he didn't really care about what they looked like, he just wanted to just smash. So that also does say a lot too, that the fact that he is a man of lack of standards as well means that he's somebody that literally just sees intimacy or sex as just something that is fun to do, or something that is potentially even become an addiction, should we say. Again, it's always a question, isn't it, folks, when it comes to these situations? But right now, the question that I have for you is, given the fact that Sarper sees Shekinah as a punishment, does this really mean that this whole time he was actually playing this game where he just wanted to get to America? Or do you believe that generally he did actually have interest in Shekinah, but then once he ended up, obviously enjoying the fruits of other women in America, that's when he thought, F this. And to be fair, before he even came to America, a lot of us were under the assumption of that, well, once he gets to America, he's more likely to start to want to fiddle around, because he's going to be in a land where there are so many women stacked every single corner that you turn. And especially when you have no standards, the women become even more, because that means your options are even more. But that wasn't the end of it though. Shekinah also came out with this post where she says, haven't you noticed who don't tolerate lying? Haven't you noticed people who don't tolerate lying, disrespect, or deceit always get labeled difficult, crazy, or bitter? Standing on standards makes weak people uncomfortable, so they try to shame you for having them. I mean, listen, there's a lot of truth behind that statement. Whether or not that statement is true to Shekinah, well, I'll leave that one up to you. But of course, again, like I said before, there is a lot of truth to that statement regarding on the person itself in particular. But right now, it really comes down to what is going on in this moving mad world of 90 Day Fiance. What is going on in this non-reality ready world right now when it comes to 90 Day Fiance? Are we in a position where we are now believing that things have gotten so bad to the point where things are so highly moving mad that this is Shekinah basically telling us that her relationship with Sarper is pretty much over? Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on every single thing that we spoke about in this way. And try to be open-minded to you, judging it not based on the fact that you dislike Shekinah so much, but just also based on how we have definitely seen Sarper treat his relationship with Shekinah from the beginning to end. Okay, folks? And also on top of that, try and put yourself not necessarily in Sarper's shoes or Shekinah's shoes, but if you've ever been in a situation where you feel like you've been with a partner that has never made you feel protected, or a partner that cares more about validation from other people rather than the validation they can get from their own partner, just think about how that made you feel, and obviously how that made you react, of course. Because even people like Shekinah, who are very interesting people, they still have a heart, and they can still speak sense, But either way, with that being said, thank you so much for your time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.